Welcome back, gamers and Lords Mobile fans. This is Minnie, and this is my channel, Minnie Gaming. We are back with part 2 of Castle 25 Push, and we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. So last week, we talked about the requirements for Tier 4 troops. We briefly discussed a good troop count. We went over the importance of the help bar. Remember, each help reduces the time by 1%. We also talked about a good guild screening process and a simple bank setup. So this week, let's talk about heroes for new accounts and ones that are good for monster hunting. As a new account, you will want to focus on heroes that give you turf boost. Trickster is the only free-to-play hero that gives you a research boost. With how heavy research plays into Lords Mobile, I suggest getting him to gold as fast as possible. If you are in a guild with an experienced guild leader, you will probably hear this all the time in the first week. But remember that the higher researches can take over 300 days without any boost. So you'll definitely want Trickster. They're not wrong. But I think there's two more heroes that are important to take into account that a lot of people kind of overlook, and that's Scarlet Bolt and Sage of Storms. Both give a construction boost after rank 2, which is important if you're pay to play because you're rushing to C25 to get to T4. So if you focus on these two after you've already unlocked Castle 25 or Tier 4 troops, you will have already done a third of your construction for the game without getting these boosts, which could in turn cost you a lot of money. Think about it in terms of getting the most out of your money. Remember, we say the rule of thumb for T4 will be about $1,000 for a protected kingdom in order for you to unlock them. So you want to use any and all extra boosts that you could possibly think of in order to reduce the amount of speed ups that you would need, and in turn reduce the amount of money that it would take to get to Tier 4. So if you do not upgrade Scarlet Bolt or Sage of Storms before you complete all of your construction for Castle 25, you're wasting hours, possibly days worth of speed ups. Even if you do not get them to gold before you finish Castle 25, you will still be receiving a boost of some kind. All these different boosts add up together. So along the same line of heroes, you will also want heroes in monster hunting. Monster hunting is important because it gives you items to make gear for your hero to wear, which in turn gives you more boosts. Each gear gives you a different boost depending on what gear you make. It also gives you gifts such as speed ups, chests, special items, and resources. Remember, I said it takes a lot of special items to get to these special buildings, the prison, the altar, the battle hall, to level 25. Every item you get as a reward for hunting monsters is one less thing you have to buy using your gems. You can start doing some major damage to these monsters when your heroes reach level 40 and you're using the correct heroes for that monster. But you really want to have the heroes be level 60 and gold. That should be your end goal. Each monster has a specific hero lineup that works best for them. The good news is a lot of the monsters overlap on these lineups, and some are even exactly the same. The most common heroes used are Trickster, Tracker, Scarlet Bolt, Black Crow, Incinerator, Bomb and Goblin, Sage of Storms, Snow Queen, and Demon Slayer. There are others mixed in, but I would focus on getting these upgraded to level 40 and rank 3 or 4 as soon as possible, so you can start dealing out real damage to any monster that pops up for that day. Unfortunately, you cannot get decent monster gear without purchasing packs from the store. The packs start at $4.99 US, and it pops up about every other day on the store. I would suggest saving money and only buying the $4.99 packs as it pops up. The next pack is $19.99 after you buy that $4.99, but the $19.99 one doesn't give you 4 times the amount of items as the $4.99 pack does. So if you buy this as you can within a month, you should probably get gold fairly quickly. I think this is a good segue to go ahead and talk about gear. So there is what I call 2 types of gear for new castles. You have the first type, which is the tide me over gear. This is the gear that you're going to use until you hit a certain hero level. That hero level is determined by you. The good gear doesn't start until about player level 40 to 45, but the best gear is obviously at player level 60. So you could be using certain pieces of the tide me over gear for a long time. It takes a while to hit EXP 60. Sometime, depending on the route you go, it could take you 3 months, could take you a year. Just depends on how hard you're trying. Then there's your gear, and that's what you will brag about to your friends and your guild mates. You feel accomplished by having this gear. Normally most of this will be level 60 gear that you have already gotten to gold or mystic. Obviously there's some gear that just isn't worth making even as tide me over gear. If it's level 10 to 30, I wouldn't make it personally. You're gonna replace it so fast that it just using those resources doesn't pay off in any way. So construction and research gear are good examples of what are going to be like your gear. Most of the gear is in the level 40 range. It does not take that long to hit player level 40, so you should not waste your time forging gear that is lower than level 40. For construction gear, I would make Terra Lash, which gives a 14% boost at Mystic, Narcos Mask, which gives a 14% boost at Mystic, Lightning Guard, which gives a 28% boost at Mystic, Griffin Walkers is a 49% boost at Mystic, Griffin's Talon, which is a 25.5% boost at Mystic, and then you're going to make 3 Centennial Circuits at 35% boost for each of them at Mystic level. So this Mystic setup gives you 234.5% construction boost from gear alone, which, as I've already said, each little thing adds up. So this is a perfect example of all of your research, all of your boost adding together to create a huge number that's really going to pay off in the long run. So for your research gear, this gets a little bit more complicated. There are some level 60 pieces. So I'm going to give you a couple alternatives for a few of them, and then there's one piece that is just the level 60 that I would go ahead and make and just set aside for whenever you hit level 60. So starting off, we have Warmbone Cornet, which is a level 60 piece of gear. So this is the one that there isn't another option. So just make this one, upgrade it as you get more resources, as you get more items, and just set it aside. And once you hit player level 60, you will automatically get this boost in. And then you have the Terror Shield, which is also a level 60 gear. So make it, and again, let it sit there, upgrade it as you can. And then there's a Tide Me Over option, which is the Cavalry Mail. This gives you a 9.8% boost at Mystic. Then there's the Griffin Walkers again. You use this in construction. You're also going to use it in research. And this gives you a 24.5% boost at Mystic. The Vice Grips are a 7% boost at Mystic. you're going to want 3 Lunar Forts, which is a 36.4% boost at Mystic. And the last piece of equipment has a Your Gear option and a Tide Me Over gear option. I personally prefer the Tide Me Over gear option because it's a level 50, and it's called the Electric Lance. This gives you a 14% boost at Mystic. The Your Gear option is any of the champion gear. But the problem with champion gear is you don't get it unless you buy bundles in the mall. You'll never get those items from monster hunting or researching. Occasionally you'll get it in the cargo ship. You might get it as a Guild Fest reward, but for the most part you're just gonna get it as buying it. So the champion gear is a money only option. So for 90% of the players that don't want to spend thousands of dollars to get champion gear, just go with the Electric Lance. That works out great. So this gear with your Tide Me Over options, you're looking at 164.5% boost for research at Mystic Gear level. So gear really does help, and it can really pay off. Here in a second, we're going to talk about some Tide Me Over war gear, because for the most part, once you hit level 60, your war gear needs to be level 60. So let's talk about gear that will be your Tide Me Over war gear. Then we'll talk about the EXP 60 war gear, which you'll probably call your war gear. I'm going to just focus on mixed gear. If you want a video on specific gear by troops, let me know in the comments. If you are the leader in your guild and you want to be rally lead, you need to have war gear as soon as possible. So that means you are definitely going to have to make Tide Me Over gear. When you are at player level 60 or EXP level 60, whichever one you want to call it, the way you pick your gear is different than the way I suggest picking your Tide Me Over gear. Your level 60 gear will be more specific, but as I mentioned before, the Tide Me Over gear, as the name suggests, is temporary. So you don't want to waste your time on gear that you will only be using for the first few months of the game. I will not go real in depth on my reasoning behind why I suggest making these specific gears. So for your Tide Me Over war gear, I would suggest making mixed gear. This way you have some boost no matter the war lineup. It also won't give away your end goal for your castle, or if you haven't picked what your end goal is yet for your castle, it gives you more time to figure it out. So here's my list of Tide Me Over mixed war gear. This will give you a fairly even boost between the 3 troop types, which are infantry, cavalry, and range. No one really cares about siege. Their use is just to break a wall. Because we are working under the assumption you are not at level 60, I will also be working under the assumption you do not have Mystic gear unlocked. So all stats will be based on gold ranking gear. For your helmet, I would suggest making Indulgent Visage, which is a level 40 gear that gives a 10% boost at gold for infantry and ranged troops. For your armor, I would suggest Headache Cuirass, which is a level 55 gear and gives infantry and range at 25% boost. For your main hand, make Kraken's Anchor, another level 55 gear, which gives a 25% infantry and cavalry boost. Offhand, make Call of the Deep, and it's a level 50 gear that gives you a boost to infantry and range at 15%. For legs, I would make Stealthy Steps, another level 50 gear that gives you your ranged troops a 16% boost. And finally, for your accessory, make 3 Dragon Iris, which is a level 55 gear. It gives cavalry and range a 10% boost. Together, this gives you a boost of 105% for infantry, 66% boost of range, and 55% of cavalry. I do want to again say this setup is for your tide you over gear. This is just until you get to EXP 60, and then you can make mixed gear at level 60 or specialized gear for level 60. You can get better stats specializing your gear in specific sets. Also, pro tip, unlock quick swap, especially if you are a trap. And the final thing I will say on gear is that this was a broad overview. If you want more specifics, leave a comment and I will do a video specifically on gear. So let's take a look at where we're at on the castle upgrade now. Looks like we still have quite a few buildings to upgrade. We're on the manor. We still have 2 upgrades for the infirmary. We still have we have 1 upgrade for the barracks. We still have 5 for the farm, 1 for the ore, 1 for the stone, 5 for the wood, so 1 for the wall, 2 for the vault, 3 for the watchtower, and 1 for the trading post before we can get to castle level 25. So we definitely still have a lot more speed and a lot more resources that we need. So let's keep going. Let's also go over talent points real quick. Each level upgrade, you will get talent points to spend. You have full autonomy to decide where those points go, and depending on how much you want to set up your castle depends on how you want to set up your talents. But there is a correct way to set up your talent points for a new castle. If you have not finished your construction, research, or training your troops, this is how your talent points need to be set up. Here is a pro tip. Do not let your OCD get the best of you and just try to max out everything. What you want to do is do it specifically, because once you get max points, you still cannot max out all of the boost on the talent point tree. At level 60, which is the max, you will have a total of 278 talent points, meaning you have to pick wisely how you set your points. While building your castle to level 25, you should have your construction talent points maxed. There's a construction 1 that takes 10 points and a construction 2 that takes 20 points. At the same time, you should be working on your research to tier 4 and beyond, that you should have your research talent points maxed. There's a research 1 that takes 10 points and a research 2 that takes 20 points. And you should never stop training troops, so you want to have your training speed talent points maxed as well. There's a training speed 1 which takes 15 points and a training speed 2 that takes 35 points. The thing about talent points is that the tree of sorts, you cannot upgrade a lower branch until you unlock the one before it. Meaning that though to max out the 6 boost mentioned above, you really are only wanting to use about 110 points, you actually end up using 173 points. Because you have to unlock the ones above it, unlocking does not mean you have to max out the tile above it. It can take anywhere from 2 to 5 talent points to unlock the tile below on the tree. This leaves you with 105 points to use as you feel best. If you're a hyper account, I would set those talents to whatever production your hyper is focused on. So for a bank setup, that would be food. You could set it to wall defense if you wanted, though I do not suggest that. There's no reason to waste them on attack boost as you would use a talent reset and reset your talents to do a full army attack boost with those talent points anytime you're planning to be the aggressor in a battle. At the end of the construction, research, and training speed, you'll have 105% construction boost, 105% research speed boost, and 122% training speed boost. So if you take those boosts and add them to the gear we talked about earlier, you can have up to 339.5% construction boost and 269.5% research boost from gear and talents alone. That is it for part 2 of Castle 25 upgrade. Stay tuned for the last and final part, and I will see y'all next time. Make sure you subscribe.